just give as much support as you can without judgments and without projecting your whatever's going on with you onto them. Because sometimes when we help people in the way that we want to be helped, which is not at all the way that they want to be helped.
Hey there, my name is Sean, and this is Suicide Noted. On this podcast, I talk with suicide attempt survivors so that we can hear their stories. Every year around the world, millions of people try to take their own lives, and we don't talk much about it. And when we do talk about it, most of us are not very good at it, and that includes me. One of my goals with this podcast is to have more conversations with attempt survivors, and I hope better conversations. I'm certainly going to try. We are talking about suicide, so this may not be a good fit for everyone. Please take that into account before you listen. But I do hope you listen because there is so much to learn. If you like this podcast, if you're learning from this podcast, you can help us out by doing exactly what you're doing right now, which is listening. You can also let your friends and family and other people in your life know about it. You can rate it or leave a review. This helps people find it. People from different places like Peru and Malaysia and Hong Kong and Colombia. Our podcast has been found there, and people who need to hear these stories are hearing these stories. If you're a suicide attempt survivor, and you'd like to share your story with us, I would love to talk with you. You can email us at hello@suicidenoted.com. Today, I am talking with Thomas. Thomas lives in Copenhagen, Denmark, and he is a suicide attempt survivor. Hi, Thomas.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and speak with you about this.
I'm really glad that you were open to doing it and able to do it. So
Yeah,
wait,
of course.
where are you?
I am in Copenhagen. I'm originally from California, but I've been in Copenhagen for 11 years now, and I really like it here. This is my home. I don't miss the States at all. Just love it here.
We could have a whole other podcast on that subject, for sure.
Yeah, I bet we could. Yeah. I'm happy to talk about everything. I like talking about all this, actually. I'm not shy. I actually try to talk about it as often as I can with people. So as soon as I don't know how, I think maybe you posted something. I'm part of like maybe 10, 15 suicide prevention groups on Facebook. And I think that's how you came up on my radar. You posted something. And I thought, yes, that's exactly what I want to do.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad. Yeah. It probably will not come as a surprise that it's not that easy to find people are really open and willing and available. It's not something we typically talk about. It's not something most people are going to talk openly about. You won't hear conversations about suicide attempts in most cafes, which probably, there's a reason for that. But I always ask people, I'm always curious why they're comfortable talking about something that so few people are.
Yeah. More than I really enjoy it because through the recovery process, I did heal completely, and I'm quite confident in that, and I'm over it, and I'm aware of so many people that are struggling with mental health, whether it is to all the way to depression and suicide, or just everyday regular things. So many people are suffering from their mind, and I know how to deal with this, and I just want to help people. It's weird. Sometimes your greatest failure or weakness ends up being your greatest strength and contribution to the world. And that's definitely true for me. That's all I want to do. Is when I was in college in LA, I started studying psychology. I got a bachelor in psychology because I wanted to be a therapist. And things moved in another direction, but I still have that drive. I do want to help people, whether it's professionally or just, I was at the park yesterday, just talking to friends, and normal, everyday talk comes up, and you can hear that, okay, there might be an issue here with frustration in life or insecurity or whatever. And just even that, just a small scale, helping one person with a little problem. I was like, oh yes, I love doing this, you know. So that's why I'm very happy and open to talk about this sort of stuff,
Mm.
because it's normal. We're all running around trying to hide like we don't have anything going on, and we post pictures of ourselves at our peak, you know, at the top moments, and modify our image. And so, unfortunately, it's so easy to forget that we're all human. And so, when you
Mm-hmm.
bring up this stuff, it's like, oh, yes, you're right. Like, I'm a human, you're a human. We can just relax a little bit and just be a little bit more normal and just talk about, you know, that we are vulnerable sometimes. We do suffer and we do go through tragedies, and it's okay. You know, we don't need to have this armor on like we're a superhero or something. It's okay. And so I always get such a wonderful response when I tell people like I tried to kill myself when I was in lockdown for 2 years. It's a weird thing to say, but when you're really comfortable about it, it actually makes people really comfortable.
Mm.
It's a weird phenomenon. I will tell people as quickly as I can if I want someone to like me. Like I'll do this in job interviews. I'll do this in the university applications, dating, friends. If I really want to facilitate a connection, I will work into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to kill myself as quickly as possible in a way that sounds natural, which
Sure.
seems like difficult, but it's quite easy. It really facilitates a good bond.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you're normal. You're not trying to prove anything here. We're all trying to do that. When someone
Mm.
doesn't do that, it's like a breath of fresh air. It seems like.
It really is. It really is. And it opens up, I find, this space for people. It's almost like you're giving them permission to
Yeah,
then share stuff about
yeah,
themselves. It may not
yeah.
be
And
a suicide attempt, but whatever it may be.
it could be anything. People have shared all sorts of super personal things, and I'm very familiar and experienced with this. So there's just an acceptance of whatever it is, and it's like, yeah, I get you. I might not have experienced that personally, but I totally understand where you're coming from and what happened, and why things happen that way, and how it's affected you, and how you're dealing with it. And it's just a relief to know you can just talk about this stuff openly without
Mm-hmm.
judgment, and everybody's going through something. Everybody has dealt with something some way somehow, and so it's talking about the stuff. Just it's a great way to be like, oh yeah,
Mm.
we're the same in one way or another. Uh,
Yeah.
so that's why I really like it, and yeah, why I'm here to talk to you.
Yeah. And I thank you again for that.
Yeah.
Tell me about your attempt, however you want to frame that. What was that like?
Well, I took 140 Tylenol PM with alcohol when I was 15. Um, and it's one of those very common situations, like a miracle you're alive. Was in the hospital for a week, almost needed liver transplants, but somehow I guess because I was young, my body recovered just
Mm-hmm.
fine. I just had to take some medication for a while, but that was the actual attempt. And then that led to in like a mental hospital in San Francisco for a month, and then sent to Utah for to a couple treatment centers. One was a lockdown treatment center, and then one was a therapeutic boarding school where you were allowed to go outside and have more normal interactions as a kind of like a step down
Mm-hmm.
transition from
Right.
the intensity of lockdown to going to back to the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Because even going back to the real world for me, like after 2 years of treatment, when I went back to a new high school back in San Francisco, just that alone, it was really scary. It was such a like you could walk around on the streets and open a magazine and watch TV, like just being able to do such normal things. It was really a shock. Like I was totally institutionalized.
Yeah.
Um,
Right. And it makes
yeah,
me wonder about people who have been in institutions uh, for months or years and that
yeah,
transition, which is a different conversation, but like
yeah.
that's got to be a tough transition.
Yeah, it was. I mean, well, I think it also depends on how much it does for you. Like the treatment process worked really well for me, so I really liked it. I liked it in lockdown actually. Eventually, like I felt at home there. I liked the people there, the whole system. So I didn't have a problem with leaving, but of course you have to leave.
Yeah.
So because my positive response to it, I think that facilitated the institutionalization effect. Well, I think that my was more extreme than a lot of other people because a lot of people weren't as into it as I was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So some people were just like, they want to get out. People tried to escape. They tried to run. They tried to fight the system. But I just went with it.
Yeah. I want to hear more
Yeah.
about that. I also want to ask you
Yeah.
a really hard question. I've done a good number of interviews thus far. This might be the hardest question that I ask, and that's: you're 15 years old. You make that decision to take all those pills
Yeah.
with the intention of ending your life. Why?
Why? Well, it was a lot of things. I guess things started. I was born into a really wonderful family, very loving parents, nice neighborhood, great schools, and so I was very much sheltered in this world of everything's amazing. But of course, as you grow up, your parents cannot protect you, and things start to change. So when my parents got divorced when I was 11, that was just a huge shock. It was like the first shock in my life where things can actually go wrong, things can go bad, and then immediately that started changing my whole world. And I took it out on my dad. I started hating my dad because he changed everything. And with my mom and my brother and I, we moved houses a couple times, which created a sense of, I don't know where I belong, because I moved every year for a couple, like 3 or 4 years. So I lived four different houses in not that long, and so I didn't feel like I belonged. I was putting all this energy into trying to like figure out all this chaos, because also puberty is happening at the same time. So it was just a lot of nonsense and mess and craziness. And then I think going and then transitioning from middle school to high school, I was so exhausted from this whole family problems that when I went to high school, I was super insecure and shy. So I had extreme difficulty making friends. So at lunch, I would kind of just sit alone in the corner while everyone else is being all cool and having friends and talking to girls, and girls were rejecting me. And so very heartbroken several times. And then all this pain, since I lived with my mom, even though I hated my dad, both of which they're absolutely wonderful. It was my reaction, but because I didn't like my dad, I would take it out on my mom for absolutely no reason, just because she's there. And I guess that that's the burden of being a parent, is at some point you can no longer protect your kids, and it's likely they're going to take that pain out on you. So my mom just had to take it while I was just being an obnoxious, angry teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a hopelessness, a helplessness, rejection from girls, not having friends, terrible relationship with both my family, both my parents, not knowing what I want to do in life, not knowing where I want to go, getting bad grades, insecure, sheltered, just a lot of things coming at the same time from all directions. And I just really, after it was exhausting having to deal with this for a couple of years. And so, yeah. So, what facilitated I didn't know that suicide was really where I wanted to go. I was super depressed, and I was like, but then I was at some birthday thing with a friend, and we left. I think we just left, and we're waiting outside for one of our parents to pick us up. And we slowly kind of talking about depression. And he's like, "Oh, I'm depressed. I'm really sad." He's like, "Oh, me too." And then that kind of built on top of each other. Like it just facilitated, like it expanded to like we're actually talking about depression and suicide, and we're wanting it to end in just this one very little conversation. So then having a friend who is a good friend, knowing that there's someone else who also wants to kill themselves, we kind of were pushing each other, and like promoting it, and actually, it's weird how there gets to a point where, when well, at least for me, where you can get so upset that you actually don't even want to get better. You're actually looking for the things to make it worse, because like, okay, I do need to kill myself, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm enough pain to know I want it, but I still need a little bit more motivation to make things worse to get there, so I can really just do it. And so that I guess we use each other to push ourselves to do that. And eventually he did not. I went to his house one night. We're going to do it. Like it's going to happen. Like we had a plan, and we were going to take his dad. His dad had prescription sleeping pills, so we were going to take those. but then he decided I can't do this. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll just go home tomorrow and do it myself. You're like, no big deal. And then
And you did.
yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So then on the way home, I went to the grocery store and just bought 4 bottles of pills, which was all I could. Like, I didn't have any more money. I think I pulled out more bottles, and I was like, oh, I actually don't have enough. I don't have enough for all these. So I put one back, and then I went up to the cash register, and I was wearing I was one of these kids that were all black, all gothic, style with those, square pyramids that people have on like their belt, like the spikes with like on their belt or bracelets. I had those, all over the place. Totally looked like I don't know how many red flags I was. I was wearing that. Teenager, right. 15. I go to the grocery store, buy 4 bottles of pills, and only 4 bottles of pills, and she was like, oh, did you find everything okay? Have a good day. And then that night, I had a final dinner with my mom and brother. They had no idea. I hid it. I mean, I think they didn't want to see it, even though despite how obvious it was. Then as soon as they went to bed, I was like, all right, here we go. I'm going to take these. And I went down to the kitchen and took a bottle of vodka, I guess, from my mom's liquor cabinet, and then went up to my room and did it.
And you didn't say goodbye in any way?
Nothing. No, there was no notes, no, nothing. Like was any other night, nothing.
I have no idea who's listening to this. I try to find out like analytics, yeah. I could find out like downloads and countries.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you. I assume that having open conversations about this is a positive thing.
Yeah.
But I'm open to other people's points of view. When you shared with me that you, and tell me if I'm off here on my language, that by your friend also planning it gave you almost like this motivation or something in which you felt like you could do it. Do you think in talking about it, there might be people out there who hear it and they have the same feeling? I'd like to believe that this is doing far more good than harm. But what are your thoughts? Do you think someone might hear this and say, oh, he tried, I can try?
I think one of the most important things is I thought I was the only one. It's so easy to compare the best in others with the worst of yourself.
Yeah.
And so I thought, especially, so I'm in high school and I'm looking at all the cool people and all the pretty girls and, everyone just seems great. And then here I am wearing black and just alone and miserable. I thought I was totally alone. I was the only one. So I just had with my friend, knowing that we were the same, that really, it created like, oh, I'm not the only one. Like there's someone I can talk to. But unfortunately, he was also going in the wrong direction. But I think that if I met somebody who had the same thing, but they're going in the positive direction, then it'd be like, oh, well, so you can go that way. It is possible. Because I think one of the main reasons why depression is so dangerous is because it's very good at convincing you that you will not get out. I mean, if you don't believe you can do something, you're not going to do it. So if you believe, I know so many people, even after the recovery process, who I know from recovery, they say once you're depressed, you're always depressed. I've heard this from so many people, and it's a belief. And if you believe this, it will reinforce its truth, and then it will become true for you. So what I really want to do is just say, guys, that's actually not true. You can recover. I mean, I get it. I know what it's like to go all the way and want to go all the way, and you're so bad that you even want to make it worse because you're so committed. But it's of course a scary thing. But like, I just need the motivation, like someone patting your back when you're gonna jump off the high dive or something. Like some kind of support. Fortunately, I was able to go to these treatment centers, which not everybody is. Mm-hmm. But I also know that it's not required because I know how to do it, and I really want to talk about mindfulness and how to look at the negativity in your mind and see this thing like, there's something in my head that's attacking me, and you identify this as yourself, but it's actually just a voice, and anyone can learn how to do this. I think mindfulness is the best thing in the world. We should be teaching mindfulness as soon as you're teaching algebra to people because that's when you'll learn the techniques to deal with this. And another big problem with depression is people think that I need to get rid of my problems to get rid of depression.
Mm-hmm.
But those are two different things. You're always going to have obstacles and problems and challenges, and it's fine. That's how you grow, and that's how you develop, and that's how you move forwards and test out new things. But that won't change. It has nothing to do with the depression. So if you hold on to the belief that if I get rid of my problems, I'll get rid of my depression, but you're never going to get rid of your problems, which means you're never going to get rid of your depression. So if you believe that, it's gonna actually, that's what's going to defeat you.
Yeah.
So I also want to let people know that getting rid of depression is a totally different thing than getting rid of your problems. You maybe gotten rejected, or you're in a relationship you don't like, or your career's not going the way you want it to, or whatever. That doesn't, you don't need to identify that with I am depressed, I am worthless, I can't do it, because they are two things. We're all going to go through these career things, relationship things, money, financial things, personal things, and do that, and accept that, okay, these are happening, these are here to help me grow. No one asks for moments of pain or rejection or tragedy, but they're blessings, because they prove to yourself that even this I can handle, and they force you in a situation to grow internal muscles that you didn't even know that you had, or you didn't think was possible, and then all of a sudden you're pushed into the deep end. It's like, I gotta do this. I gotta move forwards, and so the world is not so cruel as to give us what we want. Sometimes the world is fantastic by not giving us what we want.
Yeah.
There's so many times, what's good and what's bad, you might think, oh, this is something that's really good, and then later you realize it was actually really bad. And then there's something you might associate as really bad, and later you're like, actually, that was a really wonderful thing. You have no idea. So have like a more openness to, you have no idea. Being suicidal was one of the best, it was literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. If you took that away from me, you take away my whole life, because it gave me an opportunity to transcend myself and build myself and learn about myself and know about how to conquer yourself and keep going in the world, no matter how difficult it gets, because challenges are going to happen all the time, and that's okay.
Yeah. So here's a question. I'm not a therapist, just to be super clear. I talk to people who are attempt survivors. And I think it's important people know that. I do want to ask you, though, what was it like for you? Because I think there might be people out there who are hearing this. Maybe they're young, maybe they're not, and they might be depressed and might not know what that is.
Yeah.
Might not know what that feels like. And so I'm asking for you, in as much as you can, what does it feel like to feel that kind of depression? What does that feel like?
Well, for me, it just, like, there's no point in anything. Like, I can't do anything. I'm not worth anything. I won't be able to figure out anything. I'm all alone. I don't fit in my family. I don't fit in my school. I don't even fit in my body. I was really insecure about, because you're a teenager, you really don't like I didn't like my body. So I didn't really fit. I didn't fit in my skin. I didn't fit in my home. I didn't fit in anywhere. And it felt like so alone and isolated. And I thought that it's never going to change. It's so easy to think that things are permanent, especially when you're a teenager, when you're really young, and you think, oh, this is going to last forever. And so that idea that this is going to last forever, I was like, I can't do this.
It's so insidious. It's such a beat. Did you, I guess the word is ruminate. So when those thoughts, would you be thinking that a lot? This is never going to end. My life sucks. I hate my body. I can't meet women. I can't meet girls. Girls hate me. I'm not popular. Blah, all the time, or would there breaks?
All the time, and it would just reinforce everywhere when you're at school, and you see everyone seeming to do really well, and you're not. And so all day long you're looking at these people like, what are they doing, and why can't I? And what am I doing wrong? And then you go home and well, now social media is probably making it even worse, because you're comparing yourself even more. We didn't have social media when I was 15, but we still had, like, I watched a lot of MTV, and there was also a lot of cool kids being all cool and popular and flirt with girls and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, why am I the only one who's not doing this? Which of course I think most people, even the ones who are the ones that I was also looking at and glorifying, they were probably also thinking, oh, why can't I be successful? Why can't I do all these things? I think a lot of people are thinking this, even though it might appear that they're not. It's like a conditioning.
Yeah, yeah, of
Like
course.
you constantly see what you don't have, and that comparison. If you look at something that's really high, you're going to look at yourself as really low, and then you're just going to keep
Yeah.
reinforcing that belief until it's just a truth for you. Like I am really low. I am really.
On that night, like, how did you get saved? What happened that you were able to essentially, you didn't die? Like, what happened there?
Well, and it just nothing really. I mean, I did take all the pills with alcohol, so 140 with alcohol, and then the next day, my mom just finds me in the room. There's vomit everywhere, and I'm
Ah.
just sick and sweating and gross and just totally nasty. And so it's very obvious that something has happened. And then my dad is a doctor, so she said to my dad, "You need to come over here because something's going on." And then it was obvious. So I went to the hospital, and I tried to. I didn't try. I did lie about it for a couple days because I didn't want to admit. But then they took my blood and the blood test, and I was just like, this is not drugs. This is not
Mm-hmm.
some kind of. I said I had allergic reaction. I had to come up with something. So I said I was taking Tylenol PM to help me sleep every night, and I think I just had an allergic reaction. And then they're like, okay, there's no way, there's no way that's true because your chart is your levels are just off the charts, So after a couple of days, and then even also before I admitted it, they had when I was in the hospital. I was in the hospital for a week. They had one of these night watchmen come into the room and just sit there and just be awake all night because I was already on suicide precaution, even though I hadn't admitted it. And then the psychologist started coming to talk to me, and so I was like, okay, and then I just admitted it because I just I didn't have the strength to keep lying when it was just so obvious that everybody knew.
What
Uh,
was it like for you to admit it and get the words out of your mouth?
it was. I mean, I don't remember a lot because I was actually very weak. I was really unhealthy at the time, so I don't remember too much. I would like to say I was very shameful because I felt so ashamed. Uh, just like a total failure, a loser. I had no idea. And it's like I don't know what's going to happen now. I didn't know I was going to be sent to a mental hospital at the time, but I thought I was going to go back to. Actually, you know what? I actually thought as soon as I get healthy, as soon as I'm out of the hospital, I go home, I'm just going to do it again. Like there wasn't a regret. It was like, okay, now I just need to do it better. I actually thought, okay, so now I know the problem was that I threw up. So this time I'm gonna do literally the exact same thing, but I'm gonna put a sock in my mouth and then tape my mouth closed, which is
Yeah.
totally nasty. But that's how serious I was. The very
Right.
first thing I thought of, I remember this. The very first thing I thought of once I woke up the next day and realized I was alive was I gotta do it again. It wasn't like
Mm.
thank God or something. It was like I gotta do it again. So there was in the hospital. There was of course a lot of shame and embarrassment. People, a lot of people were coming to visit me. Family, friends were coming to visit me. I just felt so embarrassed.
Mm.
I did sit there for hours. Well, we didn't say anything. It's like I don't really have a whole lot to say right now. But
How'd they
yeah.
respond? I don't. How did the different people in your life? I assume that let us hope. Tell me if I'm wrong. That the medical professionals responded in a professional way. But what
Uh,
about family, friends, and including them? Like, what were their responses like when they learned that, hey, this you tried to end your life?
I mean, everyone just wanted to support me. Everyone just made it as clear as possible that they're here for me. They love me. They want to take care of me. Um, People were family members who I might not have seen that often would come to the hospital and just keep me company, which I hated at the time. But it was just they wanted just to show me support.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to show me support. So people even left gifts at my mom's front door just anonymously.
Mm.
So somehow the word got out, and so people would leave gifts like "feel better," "we're praying for you," like meditation notes and things, all sorts of stuff. Everyone was super supportive. Um,
Some of the people I talk to, they have different experiences
yeah, yeah,
that people weren't really supportive, or sometimes outright, critical, negative.
yeah,
So I'm glad to hear that you had that support, even at the
yeah,
time, if it felt like it was just, hey, whatever. But mm,
yeah, yeah. I am very fortunate to have that. And that's probably one of the reasons I've done so well in recovery. But it's not a it's definitely not a requirement
Yeah.
to recover. Uh, in case you're out there and you don't have that support, I want to make it clear that you don't need that.
What was the most helpful stuff in the hospitals and then after
Yeah.
the hospitals? Because at the time you're still a kid.
Well, then absolutely nothing in the actual general hospital, nothing was, they just wanted me to survive. They had, making sure I was recovering. So there wasn't, I know that a therapist of some kind did come to speak with me. I don't really remember that, but did absolutely nothing. And then they sent me to the inpatient mental hospital. And I was there, you have to be there a minimum of 3 days. And I was there 4 weeks because they did not know what to do with me. Because it was just so obvious that I'm gonna do this again as soon as I'm out of here. Even though I didn't say that, it was just so obvious. I think because that's why I was there longer than pretty much everybody. Everyone just was there for 3 to 5 days or whatever, and I was there for almost a month. So they're like, this kid is on red alert. We don't know what to do, but he has to stay here. But at the mental hospital, that also did nothing because the system was just based off of, are you following the rules? Because most people who go to mental hospital, they're fighting the system and yelling and angry, and you maybe even in one of those padded rooms where you're strapped down or something. But me, I was just like, this is going to be summer camp for me. I'm just going to chill out, enjoy the ride, and wait it out. As soon as I'm out of here, I'll go back. So nothing even then happened as far as our recovery. It was not until after that I went. The only reason I was released from the mental hospital was because they were going to send me to lockdown in Utah, and then there they were a lot better at knowing what to do with actually breaking me down and getting rid of all this negativity that I have, and showing me that I do have the confidence I can have the confidence and the strength to do whatever I need. And I started doing really well in school, and I was fixing my relationship in family therapy with my parents, and I was starting to have friends. Like I was friends with, in the lockdown, there was people that were former gangsters who had been shot. They were heroin addicts. There were people who would fight their parents. There were neo Nazis. There were people who were afraid to leave their room, and their parents would put food outside their bedroom. I mean, the whole spectrum of people were there, and I became friends. I was friends with them all of them, even the people that you might think were scary. I was like, I actually I have friends. Like it was so a lot of things were happening where I could see, okay, things aren't permanent like I thought they were, and then things can actually things do change, and they will change, and you can make yourself better. So that was a wonderful experience. But also, the therapists in this lockdown, they just knew they were hard on me. They wasn't like they weren't soft. They knew, okay, we gotta like a drill sergeant. You're not gonna your drill sergeant's hard on you on purpose to get rid of a lot of bad habits, and to train you on how to have discipline. Like as maybe in the movies they wash the floor with a toothbrush. There's no practical reason for that, but it gets rid of maybe your arrogance or and creates maybe more sense of your humbleness or acceptance. So all these tools were they were quite hard on me, but in a good way to break me down. I've conquered depression and suicide not through strength, but actually through acceptance. Not through building tools or walls of protection, but just like more like a surrender. Like, okay, things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen, and okay, it's fine. Keep going. Keep moving forwards. So that's also one thing I think a lot of people. Because I watch a lot of suicide talks, and I'm involved in a lot of Facebook groups and stuff, and it's very much focus on building the strength, which of course is great and it's important. But actually, surrender is, as weird as it may sound, is for me was the answer. Just to let go of these ideas of the way that the world should be and who you should be and what you should have and all these things. Just let it go and see what happens.
So was it during the lockdown in Utah that you started to shift a little bit?
That's where all my transformation happened. Was in this lockdown where I was there for a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I was locked in for a year, 11 months. And then,
So
interesting.
So the shift and the change and all the things that ultimately helped you took place in a lockdown.
Yeah. I thought, lockdown. That was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Because they can be hard on you. Like if it was an outpatient program, for example, and I was allowed to go home. If they were hard on me, I probably would have just killed myself. But because I could not do that in lockdown, it gives you the ability to be super hard and really break someone down, which is a painful experience. And it's gonna seem like things are getting worse first. Just like if you're going through heroin withdrawals, for example, as soon as you stop, the withdrawal symptoms will appear that, okay, this is getting worse. But all those negative things are actually a cleansing, recovering experience. But when you're dealing with something like mental health, like depression, and someone's just trying to break these things apart, it's gonna seem like it's worse. Like now everything's getting exposed. So maybe even things that you didn't even want to talk about, now they're coming up, and now it's all you're thinking about. So it seems even worse. But since there was nothing I could do about it, it was exactly what I needed to get it out and get rid of it and see, okay, these are just ideas that aren't necessarily true, or they are not true. That I can't do anything, and I'm a hopeless person, I'm a helpless person, and I'm bad at school, and I don't have any friends, and I can't talk to people, and all these things. I created them, and I can also let go of them.
Yeah. So what's the for lack of a better expression, the bullet version story of after you got out of the hospital and got your life sort of back on track? What did that look like in terms of school or work or relationships for you?
Well, it was great. So then after lockdown, I went to this therapeutic boarding school for almost a year. So the whole process was like a 2-year process. And there I saw where I was already recovered when I went to therapeutic boarding school. There I started to have more normal relationships with people. Weren't only therapy, because in the lockdown it was all therapy. And then the step down was also just, hey, have fun, watch TV, do a little more normal things with therapy. But then when I went to another high school, and I went back after that, went to San Francisco for just a regular high school. I was very scared. I don't think I even told anybody what had happened. I think I lied. I tried to play it tough, like, oh, so away, but I didn't really want to. I don't think I got into the details because I was just so insecure. But when I went to college, where I could really just start over, I learned very quickly that people actually really liked it when I talked about suicide. So when I was in the last year of high school, I did tell a few people, and it was just a positive. It was just like, okay, I get you. I'm here to support you. Not that you need it, but I'm here to support you. It was like, oh, well, that's nice. That's very refreshing. I thought people were going to run for the hills and judge me and think I'm like a weirdo. But so I saw, okay, well, that's also another idea that I've created that's not true. And so then when I applied for universities after high school, there's like, what was the moment that really impacted you, or who's your hero, or whatever. I talked about my situation in lockdown, and like my therapist, and I got a lot of scholarships from universities. So that was a very clear indication that people actually like this. So that gave me the confidence when I went freshman year in college. I did start kind of flirting with the idea of telling people like these things, and it became such a positive. I got such a positive response that I was like, I want to tell everybody this. And when I got into a fraternity, the whole interview process, if you want to call it that, I made sure everybody knew that. I was like, I want to tell everybody I tried to kill myself, and now I've recovered, and things are different, because that's it makes me unique, and it shows a strength, and people also understand that, and whether or not they try to kill themselves, they know what it's like to be sad and want to know how to recover. So I quickly learned just to tell tell everybody, every opportunity I can, I will tell people that I try to kill myself. Even talking to girls now,
Really?
and I would tell them as soon as I can. I try to
First
kill.
date? First date?
First 5 minutes, I will tell people. Like I'll work it into the conversation.
Nice.
It's just as quickly as I possibly can. I'll tell people. Sometimes it's like, "Hey, I'm Thomas. I try to kill myself," and then whether they believe me or not, you're still going to get a good laugh. So everything's good anyway. And I mean, if you do it the right way. So I would just tell everybody. And in interviews, I've told people on interviews like, well, why'd you study psychology? Well, this is how I do it. Like we talk about, I'd say psychology and then say, well, why'd you do that? I was like, well, actually I try to kill myself. And then it's like, oh, okay. And so it actually can come up into the conversation quite naturally. And everyone loves it. People have given me feedback on job interviews that like the best time of this whole interview was when you told us that you were suicidal. It's just a wonderful experience. It's always a wonderful experience to tell people I try to kill myself, because then it's very likely that they will say something also very personal, which they might not have shared to anybody, and that's always a pleasure to have someone really expose something like that. That might have destroyed so the part of them when they were younger or recently. So it's something I really enjoy. Actually.
I can hear that in your.
Yeah.
When you speak about it, which is
Yeah.
nice. What's the biggest or one of the biggest myths do you think out there that you hear revolving around suicide or suicide attempts or the survivors?
That once you're depressed, you're always depressed. I hear that from so many people, just seeing it online or actually meeting people who talk about it, and they say, and when I tell them I've recovered, they're like, "Really? I thought once you're depressed, you're always depressed," or that's what they believe. And it's just that if as long as you hold on to that, if you hold on to that, it will be true for you. You have to let go of that, and then that you can recover. But you have to believe that you can.
Yeah.
Do anything. You have to believe that you can.
I think it gets tricky with it may be a semantical thing. The word depressed is used so many different ways.
Yeah, it is.
So it's a limit of the language. I think, and again, not a doctor, not a therapist, not a counselor, just pretty well read. Once you are, for example, schizophrenic or bipolar, I think most doctors say you are going to remain that way. I don't know if you feel that way, but there are certain conditions that I think most people think you should be actively treating that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Do you not agree?
Well, I mean, there's a difference. I think there's a difference between, yes, okay, you might be schizophrenic, but I do also know that you can be aware of the fact that you are schizophrenic. And you can be aware of the fact that you are hallucinating, and you can be aware of the fact that your ideas are not actually true. And this awareness of that neutralizes their ability to have as much power over you as when you're not aware of it and you think it's real, and you're looking at these ideas or visions that aren't, or voices in your head that aren't there, and you think it's true. But if you are aware that there is something going on because you're schizophrenic or whatever, and that these voices or hallucinations aren't true, you can isolate yourself from this. I actually dated a girl not too long ago who was mildly schizophrenic, and she said that she did have some hallucinations. Like every now and then there's just a guy standing, in the corner, or fall, but she knew that, okay, whenever I see this guy, I know that he's not. I know what that is. And there's a couple other things, but she was aware that, okay, this is not real. Therefore, I will not let it defeat me. And sure, she has to deal with this the rest of her life, and sure, she has to maybe take medications. And she did go to like a community group of people who are schizophrenic, so they all talk about it. But just because you have these things doesn't mean that it needs to defeat you.
Right.
So if you want to talk about maybe someone has a chemical imbalance where they have depression, major depression. Okay, yeah. So all these negative thoughts are coming, but as long as if you can see that, okay, there's a negative thought here, the more you are aware that you are looking at it, the more you can distance yourself from it, and the less power it has. That I believe that. I don't think. I think that everything is a thought, and if you know that, and know how to not get caught up in your thoughts, whatever that may be, you can have the power to release yourself from it, even though it's there.
Yeah.
Just like, let's say you want to go to sleep and your neighbors are having a party and that's really loud. What's keeping you up is not the loudness of the music, it's your resistance to the fact that there is music and you saying, oh, I wish it wouldn't be there. That's what's keeping you up. If you just accept it, okay, there's a lot of sound, then you can actually instantly get to a place of peace. We're like, okay, I don't need to defeat this external thing in order for me to be at peace. All I have to do is accept it, and everything external cannot have the power to defeat me. I do want to publish a book about this experience, so that guides people through the whole process, and then do things like this, and speak to bigger audiences, or who knows what's going to happen, but something. I want to do something where I talk about this, but I haven't formally studied this type of stuff.
Well, you have your experiences, which are,
yeah, exactly. My experiences were far more than anything I learned in school regarding the mind and what to do about it.
If there's anyone listening here who has someone in their life who is struggling,
yeah,
family, friend, whomever, really badly,
yeah,
and you could direct a message to them, the supporters of those people, not the people themselves, those that are in a position to support or help, what would you say to them?
I would say how important it is to just give as much support as you can without judgments, and without projecting your whatever's going on with you onto them. Because sometimes when we help people in the way that we want to be helped, which is not at all the way that they want to be helped. So come with an openness and a freshness of the way you want to help them, and say, well, I'm here for you. I understand. Talk about that you yourself have also experienced these things. People when I do that, love it, and then they reciprocate, and it does create an openness and a warmth. So you can say, I know what you're going through, or maybe not even make those assumptions that you're going through something, but just say, hey, I've dealt with these things. I've dealt with this and this in my life, and this is what worked for me. Familiarize yourself maybe with mindfulness yourself, so that you know how to talk to people in a very calm, open way with more acceptance, so there's a relaxedness, and so they don't feel judged, or that you're imposing on them, or forced to do something, or guilty, or shame.
That sounds
just show that you're there for them, because that's what it was for me. I thought I was alone, and then unfortunately, it was ended up being a blessing. But I met a guy, or I found this guy that was also in the same situation, and that created a bond. But we were heading downwards. If I met someone else and he or she was going upwards, who knows what would have happened. But just the fact that I knew that finally I was not alone, and that someone understood me, that created a real tight bond with me and this guy. So if someone is going through these things that you see, just the fact, if you just say, I've dealt with whatever, that them knowing they're not alone, I think will do so much. And then maybe just do mindfulness together, or going on a walk, playing some kind of sports, or a game, anything. Just like let's engage in the world in a positive way. That's not very demanding. Let's play checkers or something, or whatever. Just do stuff so that your mind does get off of focusing on the negative, and then you see there's other things in the world.
That's great. So you moved to Denmark, what was it, 11 years ago?
11 years ago, yeah. I guess 2009.
Why did you move back there? Not back there. Why did you move there?
I moved here because my mom is Danish, and so then I've had a Danish background that I didn't really know anything about. I just knew that I was Danish. My mom did Danish things, and so when I was finished with college in LA, I had to make a big change. When you're done with college, you have to, you move to a new city, or your life really changes. So I thought, well, if there's ever a time to check out Denmark, it's going to be now. So I just Googled psychology in Denmark and found this place to live, and this special type of school. And after 3 weeks, I knew this is my home. Like I just loved it so much. I was sold after 3 weeks. I'm never moving back.
Did you study in English, or did you have to do a crash course in
Yeah,
English?
well, this first school I'm talking, it's not related to university. It's kind of like it's more like an academic summer camp where people go maybe after high school. They don't necessarily know what they want to study, and there's all sorts of classes you take together to kind of explore things. It's a very unique thing that Danes have. But then after that, then I went to the Copenhagen University and I got my master's and PhD, which was all in English.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of programs are in English over here, just because Danish is such a small country and language, only 5 million people, that it is very encouraged, and they want international attention as well. And so a lot of things are just in English.
Got
Uh,
it. Yeah.
Kind of have to do that.
This is a really hard question. Ready?
Yeah,
What is, because I feel like this could be a long answer. What is the single biggest difference between the United States
yeah.
and Denmark?
Oh gosh, the single biggest. I mean, the whole. I guess values. Because my values changed as well. When I was in California, I was more into like I got caught up maybe in the whole. I don't know, maybe all the stuff you learn from MTV about nice cars and flashy things and bigness and greatness and be the best. And then when I came to here, Denmark, it's more like a hey, just enjoy your life. I feel like people just enjoy their life more. Like the quality of life's better. It's a more of a we-ness rather than a me-ness. Um, it's the whole system is just designed to support you with free healthcare, free education, uh, almost no poverty over here. Everyone's in the middle class. It just which makes the crime lower, which makes the social cohesion higher. So there's all sorts of street festivals and live music and people are just out and about a lot more freely and trusting. So it just creates the whole value of us together in this community. I love it. It's
Mm.
wonderful.
Mm.
It's such a blessing to be here.
I was going to ask about mental health there, but I think you just answered it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that Denmark does have a very high suicide rate, which is something that a lot of researchers have been looking into.
I
And
wonder why.
well, my explanation for this is just like if you could, just like one reason why social media is so dangerous is that you go on it and you kind of get sucked into this, and you're looking at all these people that you glorify who are taking pictures of their best selves, and even being totally fake, and it's fake, but you get caught up in it anyway. And so this comparison of making that so high and making yourself feel low, that I think that's what is happening. Where since Denmark has such a high quality of life, and you see this everywhere, if for some reason you are not fitting in, that contrast will
Right.
magnify, and then you will feel more alone, and then be like, oh, everybody's happy and educated and doing well and healthy, and there's something wrong with me. Like, what's wrong with me? And because you see it everywhere. So
Yeah.
that's why I think there is such a high suicide rate, and people are
Mm.
questioning why. And I think it's simplicity is the answer, not overcomplication. It's just, yeah, you're making comparisons. That is a fantastic way to defeat yourself, is to make comparisons. And when it appears that everyone is doing really well and there's something inside you that doesn't fit, that's just that pain is just gonna grow, and you're gonna
Sure.
isolate on that and focus on that and magnify that, and the contrast, and just make the contrast more and more. Um, so that's why I think Denmark has such a high suicide rate.
What's the pandemic been like there, and how has it affected your life or your family?
It's been really nice, actually. It's not really bad over here. We're doing a very good job taking care of things. The businesses were closed for maybe 2 or 3 months, but things are opening. Things have opened. I mean, there's soap dispensers everywhere. Like if you're the gyms, there's soap dispensers everywhere. In the grocery stores, there's a glass shield between where you walk in line and the cashier. Um, but it's very. I mean, I'm out all the time at parks, and it's very crowded. There's people everywhere. It's almost
Hmm.
as if nothing is
Wow.
happening. I've talked about this plenty of times. with my friends when we're out and about and we look around, like there looks like there's nothing happening. It looks like business as usual. Like everyone's having a great time, socializing, flirting, dating, swimming together, and in the water and hanging out parks, and everything's normal as far as everything, most part. So again, very very lucky to be here, especially when I talk to my parents who are quite old and are at risk for the virus, and they tell me that it's required to have a mask, and they don't want to go outside, and they don't really want to interact with other people. They're staying at home. I feel so blessed to be here, and I don't really do anything to as a precaution against this, because it seems like there's nothing going on actually.
Your folks are back in California?
Sorry?
Your folks are in California?
Yeah. Both my parents are in San Francisco, and I see them only once a year for Christmas. I go home for my annual trip for Christmas, New Year's. But our relationship is fine. I mean, my parents didn't do anything. It was my anger that I projected onto them that destroyed our relationship, and there was nothing they needed to change. It was me that needed to change. I was the one that was blaming them for my own pain. And so when I got rid of that, our relationship just flourished, and it's wonderful. Like, there's nothing. My parents are wonderful, but I got mad at them because I was mad.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Good. So, anything else around your attempt, your recovery, mindfulness, or anything else? Sort of just an open question. Share away that I may not have asked about.
I haven't thought of anything specific. I mean, I can talk about this all day. Another round or whatever, or come back with questions later and merge two shows into one. I didn't plan. I didn't prepare because I'm very comfortable. So.
No, it's good, man. I think what you've shared was obviously very honest and heartfelt, and for sure people will hear this and get something out of it, which is the goal.
I hope so. Yeah, well, that is the goal. Yeah, exactly. So I hope so. I really that they're not alone in this battle, and so many people are fighting themselves, and it doesn't seem that way because everyone is trying to show this invincible superhero person that has no problems, but that's definitely not true. Everyone's going through something. Everyone knows somebody who's been depressed or suicidal, or at least they understand what that is like, even if they haven't experienced it. So it's so wonderful to talk about this, because it makes you realize everyone is a human. We're all going through this, and you don't have to do this alone, and you're not alone. And there's so much out there that can really help you for the better, if you want.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, man. Keep doing this stuff, and I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks again, buddy. Take care. As always, thanks so much for listening, and special thanks to Thomas out in Copenhagen, Denmark. If you like the podcast, help us out as best you can. Keep listening. We drop new episodes Monday and Thursday mornings. Let people know about it, and you can rate it or review it. It really does help us out. If you're a suicide attempt survivor and you'd like to talk, please email us at hello@suicidenoted.com. Until we connect again, stay strong. Do the best you can. And I'll talk to you soon.